Hey, what's up, everybody? This is George Herrera.
And I'm Abigail Herrera.
And I'm Dan Ackerman.
All right. You got three members of the Queens Home Team here today. Welcome back to Real Talk with QHT. And today we're actually answering a question. Abby and I were shooting a video the other day. And once we were filming the video, we realized this is way too long of an answer. This is good for a podcast. So the topic that we're talking about today is, what do agents do for home sellers? Specifically in New York City, where we work and service, what do agents actually do? I'm sure a lot of homeowners wonder this. So, baby, what do you think? How would you answer this?
Such a great topic.
Well, first, I'd like to say peace to all and cheers
Yes.
to all.
Cheers. Yeah. Happy hour.
We're enjoying a happy hour drink.
We're
and
having a
during
it's like a Zoom happy hour / podcast.
Yeah.
you know.
So before Abby jumps in to answer the question, you guys got to tell us what you're drinking.
Oh, okay.
So even though it's in a Moscow Mule cup, it's just a little bit of Tito's, a little bit of ginger ale, splash of triple sec, nothing too fancy.
Nice.
How about you,
nice.
Dan?
I don't even know what it's called. I am drinking. It is a Lone Palm. That's what it is. I went fancy because you know me. I got to go fancy. So
Dan is
It's-
very eloquent for those that don't know.
This is muddled cucumber. It's a little bit of gin. It's a little bit of green chartreuse, a little lime juice, a little bit of simple syrup, and a little bit of mint.
Sounds tasty.
For all you
And it looks
QHT
tasty.
listeners, yeah, Dan has an extensive vocabulary. You'll learn that about him.
Oh, stop.
All right, guys.
All right, so let's get back to it.
So,
All right.
Abby, what do you think? What do
So-
agents do? If I'm a homeowner, thinking of selling on my own, or just wondering, what do agents do for sellers?
Well, the job of a realtor is to make sure to understand what the goals and desires and needs of a homeowner is, and so that way they can understand how to guide the owner properly and what would be the best strategy of potentially selling their home. So in a nutshell, that's what they're supposed to do. And of course, we can talk in length further about what that looks like.
Yeah.
Would you fellas agree?
Yeah,
Oh,
for sure.
Wholeheartedly.
Maybe it helps if we break it down into the segments. So in the beginning, so if a homeowner is thinking of selling and they're just in the very early stages, what is it that an agent can do for a homeowner that's thinking of selling, Dan?
I mean, I think, first of all, it's really important, as Abby just mentioned, it's really, really important at that stage to understand what the homeowner's goals are, especially regarding timeline. Timeline, I think, is a really, really important one, because depending on how quickly you need to sell, or a homeowner needs to sell, or how much time they have to sell, that can completely alter the strategy for how you market a property and even how you price a property.
That's right.
Because if you need to move it quite quick, then you need to make sure that you're pricing very, very attractively so you get a lot of activity really, really fast. And if you've got more time, maybe you're not under the gun, you don't need to sell right away, then you can afford to maybe push the envelope a little bit and see if you get a little bit more activity at a higher price point or what have you. But I think that's first and foremost one of the things that a good agent is really going to delve into, is understanding the goals of the homeowner. How quickly do you need to sell? Why are you selling? That's a big one that a lot of times,
That's true.
is really important to answer. Like, why are you selling? And then really digging into those motivations and those goals so that we make sure that we're always aligned with whatever you as a homeowner, whatever your goals are.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. What
I
can
like
you
that.
add to that?
Right
George?
right away.
Well,
You know you're motivated when you gotta sell right away.
Yeah, right away. That's like now. That's like yesterday.
Yes,
right
yeah.
away. That's yesterday.
That's very
true.
true,
And
though.
what would you add to that, George?
I would say, in the beginning, a good agent, if you're meeting with a good agent, an agent should help you bring everything into clarity. So usually when we meet homeowners and they're thinking of selling, there's always a lot of moving parts because they're planning to sell and either move somewhere or sell and do something with those proceeds, there's always some next stage. There's always a certain family circumstance or some type of circumstance. So a good agent will take you through a whole consultation, ask all the right questions, and help you come up with the best game plan based on a realistic valuation, realistic timelines, things like that. So I think in the beginning, the full consultation, a good agent will help a homeowner devise a good game plan, and then also, pretty much just brainstorm on what the next plan will be. If the house needs to some little touch-ups, minor repairs, things like that, before selling, a good agent is going to help you do all that so you maximize your net profit, right?
Yeah, and I would say to even talk a bit further about consulting with a homeowner is that many times they don't understand anything about the process. They don't understand what the timeline means.
Yeah.
They don't understand sometimes even their own goals, not to just sell the property, but where are they going? They need a third party to really listen and address some of the issues and concerns that they have, as well as be able to talk out their thoughts and feelings. So that way, collectively, you can come up with a good strategy that makes sense for that family or that individual selling. So in our experience, we meet with about 100 homeowners a year. And the situation is always different every time. And so through the consultative approach, asking a lot of questions, discovering some stories and details to their goals and motivations, you really are able to find out more that an owner just really didn't even know for themselves. So I think through a good consultation, you can collectively discover what makes sense and then strategize what the steps will be towards their plans. And also, I would say is that many times, actually a lot of times, it's not even immediate. It's usually quite rare when someone needs to sell right away. A lot of these plans are done maybe 3 months, 6 months, a year in advance.
Years,
sometimes even a few years in our experience. So it's interesting to see what that looks like and then make a plan. That makes sense.
And usually, most of the homeowners, they're not in such a dire need to sell that they have to sell. Most homeowners we meet with, they are, if you tell them this will probably get you 20 to 25,000 more in offers, they're usually willing to do some type of work and preparation and things like that. So, so I guess the first answer is really a good consultation. That's what an agent would do for you, right? As a home seller. Now, let's say you have the consultation and the owner thinks it over. They discuss with their family. Okay, yes, we definitely do want to move forward with the sale. And they tell the agent that. So now what's the next valuable asset that the agent brings to the homeowner? Once a seller tells you, okay, we'd like to hire you and we want to put our property on the market, what's the next thing that you guys think an agent does for a home seller?
Well,
jump in on this one, Abby.
Yeah. So first, I'd like to say during the consultation, the reason why they're ready to move forward is because it makes sense for them. But one very important topic I'd like to discuss, which George knows very well and Daniel, is that we need to understand the valuation of the property. That is huge in making a decision.
A realistic one, right?
Absolutely. A realistic one that makes sense for their goals and their plans. And what does that mean? So that means basically, does the net after you pay your closing costs, what you're going to walk away with after you sell your home, does it make sense towards your next plans? Right? You all agree. You fellas agree,
no,
right?
Even
totally agree.
in capital gains tax burdens, any other type of taxes, any other type of payments that need to be paid off. So figuring out exactly what you'll have in your pocket after everything, all debts are paid and everything's paid off. Will that be enough for the next plan?
Right.
And I think, Abby, not to go too far off on this, but I think going along with what you said, it's not only is the valuation super important, but how that valuation is arrived at is also super important. Because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, not all agents are created equal. And it's a very different thing to have somebody walk into your home and come up with a valuation off the top of their head, and somebody else come into your home and come prepared with all the data, all the recent sales of things that are very, very comparable to your house, and data about the market and what's happening, so that you can really see not just a number, but how that number was actually arrived at, and how that agent actually came up with that number and that valuation, and that they can explain the technique for how they came up with the valuation of your home, rather than just shooting off a number at you, because that doesn't have a lot of meaning. And sometimes a number like that can be really off. It can be wrong, and that really hurts a seller. That really hurts a homeowner.
So true.
So I think, Abby, definitely the valuation is super important, like you mentioned. And I think how that valuation is come up with is really, really important. So I always encourage homeowners to ask as many questions as possible during that part of the consultation.
And even probably eight out of 10 listing appointments that we go on, and Dan also can probably get the same feedback, is where homeowners usually are so appreciative of all the information we shared with them. And a lot of times they tell us none of the other agents have gone over it so in such a thorough way that the value actually makes sense. It's 100%. Hard to, you won't argue the value.
I'd say 3 out of 4 of my consultations since I've been on the team have said exactly that.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, we were very lucky because we've been with a great company, which is Keller Williams, for over a decade now. So we had the correct training, leadership, and resources to allow us to understand how to approach consultations well. So sometimes the agents don't, it's maybe lack of education, but we've devised our consultative approach based on the amount of appointments that we've gone on, and what we've realized, what has to make sense when approaching these consultations with homeowners. And in the end, it comes back to seeking first to understand their situation, right? You both agree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
going back to the closing costs and net walkaway. I mean, we've even gotten appointments where if the walkaway amount doesn't make sense for them, we tell them to wait. Sometimes we surprise them where they're actually walking away with a lot more than they expected, and that's always amazing. Sometimes they have a number in their head, which we actually just experienced this past week. They had a number in their head, but when we provided them the narrative through the market analysis, and they understand based on a comparable market analysis, right? Now they can understand, okay, maybe I was off, and I thought my house was worth this much. And you know what? I'm willing to take less because now I realize my house wasn't worth that much, and I need to get out of here because I'm looking to buy this property in another state. So again, it comes down to understanding the data, making sure to make it easy to read and understand and absorb, and then they'll make a decision collectively with you.
Okay, and so definitely there's a lot of value already. I mean, we're like 10 minutes in and we haven't even hit the market yet. So, okay.
Oh, wait. I think that's a time for us to take a sip of our drink.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so
Cheers
there's
to
a lot of
all.
value there.
Cheers to all.
Cheers.
All right, so now
Guys, I'm like, look at that. I'm almost done with my drink already.
Wow.
oh man.
I'm going to be drunk by the end of this
You'll be
podcast.
thirsty pretty soon.
Oh man.
All right, so where were we?
So now,
Okay.
all right, a homeowner, you go through the consultation, valuation, everything we just spoke about. They say they're ready to move forward. Now, what's the value that an agent brings to a home seller, or what does an agent do at that point? Now you're about to hit the market, so walk the QHT listeners through that process.
Yeah, what does that look like, Daniel?
Oh, you're going to ask me? Okay, no problem. Well, I think the first thing is really getting the property prepared professionally, for presentation to the public.
Also, you're not going to just take photos with your phone and put it up.
Definitely not going to take just photos with my phone.
Okay.
I love seeing those online on the MLS, the multiple listing service,
My
and on
favorite.
Zillow and Trulia. I always have a nice chuckle when I see those kinds of pictures up. But, the reality is this, and I learned this not that long ago. Most buyers, let's say 90% of buyers today, are looking for properties online, right? They're not looking at the New York Times. They're not looking at the classified ads. They're looking online. And as you know, if you've used, online portals, you're scrolling through a bunch of listings. So things are just sliding by 1 a second, or 3 a second, you're just scrolling quickly. So if you're not presenting your property beautifully, professionally, right up front, you're not going to get people's attention. And it's key to get people's attention. And then once they click that ad, what do you guys think the average time spent on a listing is today online?
Well, if
once you click
the
it,
average, the average consumer's attention span is so short. I would say 1 to 2 seconds. It's got to be like immediate, whether it pulls you or it doesn't.
Do you have data on that?
1.3.
Well, I actually do have data on that. So there's a great book called The Conversion Code that I read last year. And it says that once a consumer clicks on your listing and actually goes to the listing, they spend an average of 7 to 8 seconds on that ad, on that listing.
More than I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
More than you thought.
So we
but
have
you're,
some time, all right?
Yeah, 7 to 8 seconds. Though. That's not a lot. So like if you're not getting people's attention in 7 to 8 seconds, they're gone.
You know why that makes a lot of sense too? Because so the first picture looks good. Click.
Yep.
You pull up. You pull up the listing. Swipe, 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 swipe. Bounce or swipe, 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 swipe. Read more. So you might have actually 4 or 5 pictures, and you capture them or you lose them.
So imagine if your first picture is great and then your second picture is terrible.
Yeah, you might lose it there. Yeah,
you might gonna. So
and that's part of an agent's job, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
give me
exactly.
Excuse me
Go
while
ahead,
you
Abby.
talk amongst each other, so I can just close the door because I have my family in the background. I can hear the background noise.
Sure. So obviously, George, preparing the property professionally, super important, and that can be even before the photography, there can be things there, as we might suggest professional staging for some people, not everybody, it's not right for everybody, but sometimes professional staging is something that you might want to do. You might want to, encourage, let's throw on a coat of paint here, or, if there's carpeting, what does the floor look like underneath this carpeting? Is it nice hardwood? Yeah. Let's pull up the carpets if the hardwood is nice, because hardwood is really, really attractive to people.
Yeah.
And you pull up carpets. I just had this happen, actually. One of our other teammates, Dwayne Ejid, and myself, we just took a listing for a house in Jamaica. It's been carpeted for decades. No one knew what was under the floors. And I said, what's underneath these carpets? Is the floor in good shape? And they're like, we don't know. We pulled up a corner. The floors were beautiful.
Yeah.
So I said, guys, it's going to cost you a few $100s. Just rip up the carpets and leave the floors as is. Don't refinish them. And it will increase your sale value thousands of dollars.
Yeah, because easily the offers, if you just put yourself in a buyer's shoes, you walk into a house, at least here in Queens or in New York City, you walk into a house fully carpeted versus a house that's hard wood floors exposed throughout the house. You easily will make an offer that's $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 more.
Yeah,
just
and it's really important.
The floors will look nice, and you won't have to worry about that headache of I have to pull up the carpets and get rid of it. So
absolutely, and I think it's really important to say that increased value isn't just the cost of bringing up carpets. It's the psychological impact that it makes when you walk into a house and it has the hardwood floors and everyone goes, their eyes open up. They're like, oh, it looks so nice with the hardwood floors. So, all of those little things are more than the sum of their parts. The value of a house is more than the sum of its parts.
So true.
When you add everything, all the little things together, it comes together to make a whole impact that means a lot more value for the homeowner if they do it right. So that's the first thing I would do is make sure that cosmetically the house is as good as possible without spending too much money, and then making sure that we present that property really, really beautifully with professional photographs, videography, virtual walkthroughs now, because we are taping this in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. So right now, virtual technology is where it's at. We need to be able to show people what this property looks like and what it's like walking through the property without you actually having to go there.
Yeah. So why don't I play devil's advocate here as far as, let's say I'm an owner and you're saying that part of your value is the valuation and all that. Let's say an owner just thinks I can value it, no problem. I can, they think they can take care of that, no problem. I know what it's worth. I know what the property is going to be worth. They price it. Now preparing it also, I can do all that. I guess I'm sure for sale by owners typically will probably have the mindset of where I can do all that. But it definitely sounds more involved. We're spending 15 minutes and we're just at the beginning still. So it's more so, there is a lot that an agent can do. It's the professional guidance, I guess.
I think it's the professional guidance and experience because, we do this full time for a very long time. So we're very
And how many times do we do it a year, Abby? How many times do we do this in a year?
You mean client sales?
Yeah, sell it.
We list about 40 to 50 properties a year. So
Right.
So
and how
that's
many times do you
probably-
think the average home seller sells a home in their
one
lifetime?
time, 1-2 times at most.
Yeah, so that's
Exactly.
the key. That's the key there. Even for a home seller that even if they've bought and sold properties 3 or 4 times, the fact is that a top selling agent, a top producing agent is doing this every week. They're going through all of the experiences. So their experience is going to help you avoid issues, get through things quicker, get more money, right? It's the experience you pay for.
That is one of the
It's like
biggest
yeah.
things of a realtor is their professional experience.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Absolutely.
That's very, very important. And not only that, I mean, even in talking about preparing the property for the sale, I mean, our team even we also conduct a walkthrough to understand any potential issues that could come up, whether buyers are looking at a property or even during a home inspection. So we have to strategize of what that would look like if any of these minor or major issues will come up from a home inspection. So that way we don't have any surprises later at a later time.
Yep.
So we have that discussion with owners as well to understand any potential issues that could arise to strategize, in other words, once again.
So we
Yeah.
we do something called a QHT walkthrough, which
Yes.
is a mini inspection. So that's
Yes.
also very valuable.
Right.
And
If I can jump in here real
Yeah.
quick, this is actually something that
Please
I think
do.
a lot of home sellers overlook. Home sellers that are thinking of selling on their own, especially, overlook, right? Because most home sellers think of this in a very simple way. It's what's my house worth and what can I get for it? And that's about it. But what we're talking about right now is actually protecting the equity of that homeowner once it's under contract.
That's correct. That's correct.
true.
And
Very
that's
true.
and that's something that I think a lot of homeowners either aren't aware of or overlook, and it's not their fault. It's just not something that they necessarily are going to be thinking about, and this is something that our job as representatives of our clients is to protect them.
Yes.
And I think this is something that, Abigail, you bring up a really good point, that bringing up, going through these points, going through the pre-inspection, as it were, before you list the home, to identify any potential problem areas. It's done to protect the equity of the homeowner. And that's something that a lot of homeowners selling on their own or working with a less capable agent might not even be aware of. And I think it's really important.
Yes,
That's
agreed. 100%.
So then number 2 was so our number 1 was really good consultation. Number 2 is preparing. A good agent will help you prepare the home, the property to show well and be marketed properly, right?
Understanding any potential issues through a walkthrough.
Understanding issues, yep.
Okay.
So now from that point, so now you got it on the market. It's showing well. The pictures look beautiful. Everything's professional. Now what does an agent do for a home seller once it's on the market?
Well, you know what? Wait, before we go that far, we should talk a little bit about the marketing, don't you think?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
So-
please, by all means.
Enlighten us, Daniel.
Oh, now I got to talk. Now I got to figure out what to say.
Enlighten us.
Well, I have my own channel, my own YouTube channel, and I post videos there. And I was just recording a video about this.
Oh, why don't you just go ahead and plug your socials
Yes.
real quick?
You
for our
can check
listeners.
me out at Daniel Ackerman NY Realtor on YouTube,
All right.
and Dackerman KW on Instagram and Facebook.
How do you spell
and
that?
That's Dackerman with a K.
DAKERMANKW, and that's on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome.
But marketing, I think that a lot of sellers, again, have a very simple idea sometimes of what it is that we do regarding marketing. Oh, you're going to take some pictures and you're going to put it on the MLS, the multiple listing service, and then you're just going to wait for the phone to ring. And wouldn't you guys agree that we do a lot more than that?
Well, yeah, but I will play devil's advocate here. And I'll say a homeowner can get their property on the MLS easily. So they can. There
Sure.
are flat fee companies. They can hire a flat fee company, and they
Sure.
can get the exposure to the MLS. So
Right.
that was a bigger value in the past that an agent brought. But now I don't think that's so much of the value. Some of it is if you have memberships in multiple MLSs. But if it's just one MLS, they can sign up with a flat fee company and they'll get exposure to those. So what else? Tell me more. I'm
Well,
playing devil's advocate here.
I'm glad you asked.
Because I know with our team,
So-
at least, we're members of Rebney
guess he's
and
gonna
Brooklyn
tell you.
MLS, so. But
Exactly.
me
So
more.
first of all, yes, you're right. There are companies out there that will do the flat fee MLS access thing, which not necessarily all homeowners are even aware of. Number one.
Now you are.
But let's say that a homeowner could get their home up on the MLS, but then there's do we know if that's going to syndicate out to all of the other portals? Most likely, yes. It's going to syndicate out to Zillow.
To the main
It's going to
ones.
syndicate out to Trulia, to Realtor.com, and probably a few dozen other websites. That's something that if you're selling on your own, that's not going to happen. If you're doing that with a flat fee listing service, you'll get that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's the issue of following up with all of that stuff. And in addition to that marketing, there is there might be mail outs to the local neighborhood. There might be just listed postcards. There's our own database, right? Because when we list a property, what do? We send out email blasts to all of our database, which I think is now 5,000, 10,000 people, something like that.
8,000, yeah.
8,000, so right in between. So I mean, and that's powerful because those are people that we have previous relationships with, right?
Yep.
So we can get some traction there on the market, and of course the entire brokerage community. We're working with the entire brokerage community, and it's very important to state this, that one of the keys to marketing the property is making sure that your agent is cooperating with the wider brokerage community, because how many brokers are in just our Long Island Board of Realtors? I
Yeah.
think it's something like 20,000 or 15,000.
Yep.
So if we're not cooperating with those people, that's 15,000 or 20,000 agents that aren't bringing their buyers to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But we do cooperate with those people. So obviously we're going to get all of that traction. And in addition, you know, if you're dealing with a team like ourselves, who are part of REBNY, which is the Real Estate Board of New York, HGAR, which is Hudson Gateway Area Realtors, Association of Realtors, sorry, and also the Brooklyn MLS. Now we're covering all 5 boroughs of New York, plus being part of Keller Williams, we're covering the entire country and internationally, and we're cooperating with any broker that will bring us a buyer.
So what
And
is
that's a
that-
big part.
Sorry, please.
That's a big part of marketing. Go ahead.
Yeah.
That was good. You just picked right back up. So in essence, what does that mean? That means that we are basically cooperating with the entire world.
I think so what does an agent do for a home seller? Yes, we will get all that syndication and all of that exposure, which a homeowner can do. Let's be honest. They can get it on Zillow and Trulia. I think where we can get more exposure is to the agent community.
Yes.
Especially if you're cooperating with agents and a good agent does co-broke, then that's huge, because how many of our listings sell to another
Other
agent?
agents. Yeah, I mean, majority of our properties sell to other realtors, and we've had so much exposure, so much competition for our clients' properties, and we ourselves as agents see the value. I mean, even one day when we decide to sell our home, I'm going to list it with another realtor because I know the value that brings.
Yeah.
So in the end, I want to make sure that I get the most money for the investment that I've put my my blood, sweat, and tears into,
Yes.
and get the best price for my house. And I will list with another realtor
Yeah.
to make sure we get that.
And I always
Very-
that's one
very
of the
well
most one of the most weird things I see is when a for sale by owner is an agent. And like you would think you would understand, of all people, how important exposure to agents is.
And you know, on top of that, I mean, once you go live on the market, I mean, we hear it all the time. You get inundated with phone calls from people that either want to show their buyer a property, or buyer wants to see the property, or you get offers in. Now you have to deal with negotiations. Again, we do this full time. Other people
I'm
have
so
full-time
glad you said
jobs.
that.
So
Yeah.
we do this all the time, and it's important that you have not only that representation that and really third party that's going to handle all this call intake, but also negotiation intake, everything that relates to marketing the property well, and really being able to help navigate the client through all of this, but also take on all the brunt work
Yeah.
of what it looks like to sell a property. It's not easy.
So,
For sure. I'm so glad you said that.
but I guess
because
so number 3, I guess, would be exposure and cooperation.
yeah.
Sounds like. Right?
Yeah.
Exposure, cooperation, and legwork.
And
Yeah.
the proactive marketing,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
not just letting it syndicate and that's it. We're actually reaching out to our database, calling people,
Right.
emailing people.
How
So-
many owners that are selling on their own are going to, let's say they have a very successful open house. A successful open house for me would be, let's say, 40 people in a weekend.
Easily.
I'd say that's a successful open house.
Yes.
If you're not getting it, and this is important to mention to people, if you're not getting at least a couple of dozen inquiries in the first couple of weeks, there's something wrong there. There's an issue there that you need to look at. So a successful open house for me, 30, 40, maybe even 50 people in the first weekend. How many homeowners that are selling on their own are going to have the time to call every one of those people back?
Right.
Especially if you have a job.
Especially if you have a job. Exactly. I mean, if you have a job and you have a family, like you got to spend time on those things. You're not going to spend all day long calling 50 people back.
No.
And we don't just call people back once. We call them back once. We email them. We call them again. We follow up repeatedly. Right. And
There's a lot of time
and that's the key. Yeah. That's the key to selling is being able to follow up with people and do it consistently, do it rapidly, do it consistently, and do it repeatedly.
That's true.
I mean, professionals exist for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? I find that it's much easier when you can hire a professional to do the work for you, so that way you can use your time more valuably. That make whatever is
Yeah.
going on in your life, whether taking care of your children, whether working a full-time job already, whether having your activity of going to play golf or do things that make your life a little bit more balanced, rather than taking on another full-time job of selling your home.
Exactly.
It's not easy.
Because if you,
I always like the car mechanic example. Like you can work on your own car. I mean, everybody can do that. You can get the manual, you can get the tools,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can put the car up on jacks and you can work on your own car.
Yeah.
But do you really want to? Like
Yeah.
No.
you find a good mechanic, someone that you trust that does good work, and you pay them the money that they deserve to do the good work on your car and free yourself up to do other things.
Definitely. All right.
now-
So now what? So now so now your agent is full exposure, cooperation, doing the legwork, proactive marketing. Now what does an agent do?
Negotiate on your behalf.
So once offers start coming in.
And I should ask you this, George, because you are a professional negotiator. You are extremely well versed in how to negotiate and represent your client's behalf. But not only that, making sure to understand the dynamic of each offer to make it a win-win agreement. You're protecting your client's interests at the same time, finding a balance with these agents with their offers or buyers with their offers to figure out what is the best strategy and moving forward with the best offer. What does that look like to you?
I mean, I think negotiating definitely is a high unique value proposition that a good agent will offer to a home seller. And negotiation to me all comes down to leverage. Who has the leverage, right? Because if you don't have the leverage, you have to be a little more open-minded. You have to be a little more flexible. But if you have the leverage, then you can call the shots. You can make the terms. You can make people go more towards your way. And that depends on a few things. It depends on the market dynamics. How is the market at that time? Is it favoring buyers? Is it favoring sellers? How did you price it? So if you overpriced it, you don't have leverage. That one offer you got might be the only one you get. Right?
And how can you haggle when you only have one offer?
Yeah, exactly. Versus if you priced it right and you have multiple offers, guess what? You have leverage in negotiating. But a good agent, I think what they do for a home seller is they should act as an extension of that seller. And I can't say that all agents do this, but a good agent will. And I know whenever I'm negotiating for a seller, I feel like I'm the seller. And I'm fighting for the best price. I'm justifying why I think our price or our counter offer
In terms?
and our terms, whatever I'm asking for, I'm on my seller's team and I'm fighting for it as if it were my house. And your agent should do that. Maybe other agents might just be trying to get the deal moving and get something in contract, but a good agent will act as an extension and fight on your behalf.
That makes
What do you
sense.
guys think?
I think
Do you agree?
I think that's really well said. It's something that it's really important.
Like
And
for me,
I learn from you every day on this. I learn from you every day on this, on how to like represent, the seller and really fight for that seller, like it's yourself, like it's your own house that you're selling.
and it's like you have to be a good negotiator too. What do they say? In negotiations, the best negotiators are willing to walk away. You have to be willing to walk away. And now I will find myself many times, depending on the market conditions. But if I don't feel like it's a good deal, I have no problem telling my seller, I think we should wait. We can walk away from this one. I don't think we need to come down right now. So I'm okay. I'm not waiting. I'm not hungry for the deal. I'm not trying to get this deal right now just so I can get a commission. That's not how I operate when I negotiate,
I'm glad you said that. Which agents or what kind of agents do that? I think it's worth mentioning.
It depends. I think it all depends, because there's agents that are good negotiators and there's agents that won't be as good. It all depends.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, all agents aren't created equal. But for myself, I know when I negotiate, I'm always willing to walk away if it doesn't make sense for our client or if it doesn't reach their goals. I have no problem. And I've never tried to push one of our seller clients, you should take this deal. I've never done anything like that, because we're on the same team.
But
No
I think
matter
that
what.
makes sense for our team members, because we've all been in the business for quite some time now, and we are very well versed in understanding the market dynamics. So collectively, we represent our clients well, but it's really just the understanding of it's because of experience. We're able to do this, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of really wonderful agents that are out there, and there's a lot of agents that are not well versed in understanding the market
Yeah.
dynamics or understanding how to negotiate properly. So, I've seen you time and time again how you do negotiate on behalf of your clients, as well as our team members on the Queen's Home team. And everyone our team has always had our clients' best interest at heart, which is really by law. You're supposed to do this, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's really the experience. You do need experienced agents to understand how to negotiate well and understand the pros and cons of each deal and terms. And also, in speaking to the buyers realtors that are presenting offers, even sometimes we're educating them or really just having a discussion with them on how it makes sense on behalf of both parties to make it a win-win, right? Because I've also seen hard negotiators where they're not even willing to waver because all they see is the direction of an owner. But at the same time, you do have to have a good conversation with a buyer's realtor to understand their position and figuring out a strategy that makes sense for both parties at times, right? And that's when you have a broker's agent or a seller's agent, which essentially you are representing a seller, but at the same time we've had many conversations with buyer's agents representing the buyer, and discussing negotiations to help both the seller and buyer client move forward in accomplishing their goals. So I think that's also very important to mention to the world. Do you have anything to add to that?
That's part of cooperating, right?
Yeah.
Finding a win-win.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to piggyback on 2 points there. Number one, terms. I think terms is something that often doesn't get looked at enough. You're going to make so much progress on price, right? If there's a difference in price, you're going to make so much progress there. Once you get to the limit of what you can make progress on in price, then the deal can sometimes hinge on terms. And what homeowners get from a really experienced agent, from a good agent, is somebody who understands all the different possibilities that can exist in terms and how to massage the terms to actually make a deal happen that is agreeable to both the seller and the buyer, something that is a win-win for both for both parties. And that's invaluable. And I think the more experienced an agent you have, I think on our team, we have a collective almost 40 or 50 years of experience collectively on our team. So, when you're talking about that much experience, you have a team of people that can really figure out how they can massage the terms to make a deal happen. So that's the first thing, was terms. And And I forgot what the second thing was.
Good. I'll pick up on the terms part at least.
I don't know. Did you already refill without
That
us
mojito?
seeing?
He drank that mojito too fast.
Yeah, it's gone, guys.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's empty.
But you're so right. So like, let's say with terms, this is something no matter what. If you're an owner and you're selling either with a flat fee company or on your own, it's just without the experience, you won't have a knowledge of all those different terms. So this could be where, we're haggling and we're almost close to a deal. And I tell a buyer's agent, look, we're willing to accept the offer if your buyer pays our New York City transfer taxes, or if they pay our New York State transfer taxes, or if they clean the property out. We won't leave it empty. You guys do the clean out. Or it can be with no appraisal contingency.
Yes.
If there's
It
an
can even
appraisal
be
concern.
closing date.
It can be the
closing date where you because you can save on taxes on closing date, or you can save on utilities based on closing date. So,
Yes.
I mean, there's so many different things that can be massaged in a deal, and
Whether
in
they're
other
willing to
states
waive
there's even
inspection.
more. But I mean, in New York, we still have things that we can massage regarding the terms to really get the deal done.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that I was talking about regarding negotiating was one of the things that allows a good team or a good agent to be that sort of right hand person to their seller, like you were talking about, George, somebody who really advocates for their seller, is if they've done the right homework in the first part when we were talking about the valuation of the property.
That's right.
If you've done your work there correctly, then you don't have to convince your seller to come down $50,000 on price because you overpriced the property drastically, or do things that the seller doesn't want to do because you made the mistake of not doing your homework in the beginning. So
Right.
when you work with a really experienced agent, a good agent who's done their homework and who prepares you properly for the market, then you have somebody who can stand side by side with you and really fight for you because they've gotten all the hard work out of the way up front.
And
That's right.
have a pleasant experience while all this is going on, because even
Absolutely.
even what I've seen and the purpose of in the beginning of just doing offering a great consultation, understanding the client's needs, it allows for a client to have more peace of mind in moving forward throughout the entire time in selling their property, because selling a property it's no easy feat, and it takes time. There's a lot of energy that's expensed. There's a lot of preparation. There's a lot of things that you have to do when you move. And so it's already a stressful process as it is. So a job of it as an agent is to make things as smooth and easy as possible.
That's true.
As well, offer resources, trusted and valuable and professional resources. We'll talk about that a little bit later because I know we're going in order.
Yeah.
But also be able to provide resources that are extremely valuable throughout the entire process as well. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Okay, so we're already up to negotiating where, okay, a good agent will negotiate on your behalf, get you the best price and terms possible, move you into the next phase, which is going into contract. So now attorneys get involved. What does an agent do for a home seller at that point? After accepted offer, what does an agent do for a home seller?
Well,
Go, Abby.
I would
Go.
say that, I mean, the job of an agent is to make sure is to stay on top of what's going on, because there's so many parties that are involved here in New York State when dealing with real estate transactions. You have the buyer's lawyer, the client, the seller's lawyer. You have the buyer, their agent, perhaps their loan officer, if they allow you to communicate with their loan officer to get things moving forward already. So there's a lot of parties that you need to make sure that you're still communicating with to help the deal continue to move forward. So
And even before that, because once you're in contract, you're dealing with all those parties. Even before that, from accepted offer to contract, right?
oh, you have the home inspection.
And no, this is after inspection even,
Okay,
right?
yes.
So before attorneys get involved, a good agent will recommend good real estate
Oh,
attorneys.
which I spoke
Also,
of,
right?
yes.
A good agent will have good real estate attorneys that you can trust, that will do a good job, that will move the transaction forward. So recommend good attorneys. A good agent will be able to push that deal from accepted offer to contract as soon as possible, because a lot of deals die, right?
Yes.
Between accepted offer and contract. Dan, you just dealt with this, right? Then you just
Time kills deals. Time
time
kills deals.
A good agent or a homeowner on their own, you can lose deals. So in that time,
TKD.
yeah.
I love it. I love it.
So an agent will do that, right? And then once you're
Yes.
fully into contract is like what you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Now it's all about pushing
Yeah.
to closing.
Right. So you really, once again, you just really need an agent to help navigate through the entire process because we've been through this hundreds of times, over hundreds of times. Meanwhile, an owner has dealt with this just one time and it becomes extremely stressful.
Yeah.
I'd rather pay, like you said before, Daniel, I'd rather pay someone to fix my car. I'd rather pay a professional to paint. I mean, just an example of this, right? When we bought our first home, you think that you can paint everything on your own, which you could, but we hired a professional because we work full time in real estate, right? We also have a life outside of work, so we like to hang out, and hang out with family and friends. But we hired
Like
a
to make
professional
cocktails
team.
on weeknights.
Exactly. We hired a professional team to help us with our home, and this is someone that we've. That's another story anyway, but this is someone we knew already. So we had them come into our home, consult with us on the things that we wanted to do. And let me tell you, I never had much more appreciation of what a painter by trade does, because what they do in skim coating the walls, prepping the walls for paint, picking the paint colors, doing all these things, it's time. It's just so much time that's involved. And I'm sorry, I'd rather hire someone to do that because my time is more valuable in representing clients and what we need to do to help them sell their property versus me spending the time to
Absolutely.
paint my property.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Speaking of time, how are we doing on time?
oh,
It's a podcast, right? So, and I think we're unlimited. Here,
We're good.
So.
Wait,
We're good,
let's-
right? Okay.
So, but let's all right. So going back to what the agent does, right? So if the agent is okay, now we're in contract, we're pushing it to close. But what are some examples for someone who doesn't know? What is an agent doing in that 60 to 90 days from contract to closing? Because
Well,
I'm sure there's
first thing-
people, homeowners, who think at that point it's just the attorneys that are taking over.
Right.
So what
Well,
is an
and a
agent
lot of
doing?
homeowners won't even know that. I mean, I've spoken to so many homeowners that don't even realize that New York is an attorney state where
yeah.
the contracts have to be done by attorneys, and everything from contract to close is basically handled by the attorneys.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that your real estate agent is out of the picture, or that they're just sitting at home, and just waiting for everything to happen.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a good, responsible real estate agent, first of all, you're calling the attorneys and making sure that everything is tracking. Has the title report been ordered? Making sure that gets done as soon as possible, so that if we're talking about a condo or a single family home, co-ops, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
And we can talk about how an agent helps you, depending on different property types too. But yeah, I mean, just touching base with all the parties, making sure that everything is tracking on time according to schedule. The agent needs to be familiar with the terms in the contract. Make sure that they know the contract and see what the parties agreed to. You don't want an agent making a phone call and all of a sudden saying something that clearly it's either not in the contract or the opposite is in the contract.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
That's
So somebody, so being familiar with the contract and making sure that all the parties and everything is tracking inevitably towards the close.
Yeah.
And if any small fires come up, making sure that you're able to put those out.
Yeah. So let's just do some examples. That way we can cover some of them. So
appraisal.
right after contract, one of the first things is the appraisal.
Let's,
So what is an agent doing, baby?
Well, they
for-
have to make sure that they're making arrangements to arrange for the appraisal, for a survey. If there's a pest inspection that's needed, such as a termite inspection, that's also required to make arrangements for that.
And for the appraisal, I mean, an agent, if they're your seller's agent, part of their job, a good agent will be bringing comps to the appraisal. They will be giving comps to the appraiser because they want the house to appraise.
Yeah,
If
I
it doesn't
agree.
appraise, you'll have issues. So an agent will do everything in their power to make sure that your property appraises.
Right. And I've seen many times where appraisers, they do ask a lot of questions to the realtors. What happened? Let's say it's a multiple offer situation, or contract came above the list price. They want to know what happened. Were there multiple? They want to know exactly what happened, so that way they can help to evaluate why it's at a higher price point. Is there anything that they don't know about the property that they should know to help provide a better valuation through their eyes? So they should be present. in providing more data.
Yeah, even giving some insight to the appraiser on some of the comps. Because when I've gone, sometimes I've told the appraisers, look, I know you're going to find this comp in when you pull the comps, that was an off-market sale, was sold to an investor, that didn't even hit the market. Or this one, we actually saw this one. It needed a complete gut job. It had no pictures. It was in completely original condition. So again, the knowledge of the market that we have can give the appraiser some insight, because at the end of the day, you just want it to appraise.
And sometimes these
Right.
appraisers are coming from different boroughs, and
Yeah.
they don't even know our market.
That's right. And you say
So-
south of Queens Boulevard is a different neighborhood. They sell for higher here versus north of Queens Boulevard.
Yes.
Different things like that, right?
And once again, this comes down to protecting the equity of the homeowner.
Yes.
100%. Yes.
Another thing, another example of something that is very important that a homeowner might not be aware of is part of the sale process. Is a homeowner going to know that if they're selling on their own, that they should meet the appraiser and be ready with comps, comparable sales,
Well,
and
now they
argue
know.
those comparable sales or discuss those comparable sales with the appraiser? I doubt
Yeah,
that
you're
many, I doubt that many for sale by owner sellers are aware of that. And homeowners in general. So this is something that, a good agent, as you mentioned, George, will make sure that he's there for the appraisal to really stand up for the owner's price and protect that equity.
Yep.
Sure.
So how about another example? You have, you're selling a property. They do the title report. Open permit comes up. What does an agent do for a seller? Open
That requires
permit
a drink.
or an open violation, which an open violation, a good agent would know about it already. But let's say open HPD violation, open DOB violation, or an open permit on a job
Now,
that was net. What's an agent doing?
Wouldn't most agents be aware of that
A
beforehand?
good agent, except for the open permits. The open permits,
Yeah.
you don't know
No.
until they come up.
Right.
For some reason, we can't access that.
Yeah.
I wish we could, but for that
Yeah.
one, we can't access it. And when it comes up, what does an agent do for a seller?
So, by the way, for the world, open permits sometimes are not. They won't show in DOB. And so when a
Department of
lawyer-
Buildings, for those of you who
Department
don't
of
know.
Buildings.
Yep.
And when they do get pulled up, they're pulled up from a lawyer that's doing a pre-title search, or even when a title search
Or
is
the
pulled,
actual
the
title,
actual
yeah.
title search. So sometimes those items don't come up until then. So just give an example of an open permit is, let's say that an owner filed to get work done in their basement to get a bathroom legalized. The work was completed. They hired a contractor. The contractor did the work. They pulled out permits. The job was complete. This was done 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now it comes time to sell, and lo and behold, the permits were never closed out.
Yep.
Hence, open permit. So what does that look like then? So it's important that the realtor speak with the lawyer of communicating and finding the original contractor that did the work to help the owner in closing out the permits. That's just one example.
If it's even possible, yeah.
Yes, just
if
one
it's even
example.
possible, but most of the time, what ends up happening is we, the agents, have to get our expediter in touch with our client and let's get this thing closed out as soon as possible. So usually it requires your agent, because usually if the homeowner, when they're selling their property, and if any issues come up, the homeowner, if they need a resource, a home professional, so if they need a plumber, an
Yes.
inspector, they need a pest control person, they need an expediter, if they need a handyman to take care of some FHA repairs, if they need any type of recommendation or a home professional, they don't ask their attorney.
They ask the agent.
Who do they ask? They always
Yes.
ask the agent. And if your agent is a good agent, they have a book of people. So for us, over the years, any issue we run into, we already have people that are
Yes.
good and quick, because you want your deal to keep moving forward, right? So
Absolutely.
I think that's part of that contract to close process, aside from pushing, is that as issues come up, your agent is jumping in with their vendors and their home professionals, and they're getting things resolved quickly.
Yeah, that's a.
And the
very
whole
good point.
idea of doing that is making it so that you as a homeowner don't have to worry about stuff. That's
Yeah.
really, it's all about service, right? It's like
Yep.
you go to a really nice restaurant and things just kind of magically happen. The food magically appears.
Yes.
Everything is seamless. You never have to think about it. You never have to ask for anything. Things just get done, right? And you know, I'm a veteran of the restaurant world, so but you know, and that's the kind of experience that you want as a homeowner too. You want your home sale to be seamless. You want it to be painless as possible, because moving is always stressful. But the goal that we have is to make sure that we anticipate all of those things so that you don't have to think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you have to think about it as little as possible.
Yes.
Yes.
That's true.
So I mean, we've really said
I mean,
a lot
that's-
already
we
so
covered
far.
a lot there, right?
So I mean, we're already at 50 minutes in.
Yeah.
So let's wrap
Let's
this
wrap
up,
it up.
in terms of what does an agent do for a homeowner when selling a property?
I mean, if I'm taking everything we've been talking about here and just summing it up, it sounds like knowledge, expertise, and the guidance. It sounds like you're paying for that experience.
And service.
What does an agent do for you? Yeah, it's the service. It's giving you that peace of mind. It's getting top dollar. It's the guidance throughout the whole process, dealing with issues, the professionalism, right? And letting you do whatever it is that you do instead of running into all those bumps in the road and having to go jump through all those hurdles. You have a professional. It's having the professional handle everything for you, right?
Yeah.
100%.
Well,
What would you say, Dan? Sum it up in a nutshell.
You know,
think
how
you
would I
summed
sum
it
it
up
up?
already.
Was that it?
I'd say expert advice, experience, professional marketing, expert negotiating, and service.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
That's it. You
yeah,
get
I
it?
mean, I would also just say, having an advocate to represent you with a happy face.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's a
All
good
the
one.
time.
That's like a story I
Absolutely.
heard once of a plumber where I heard a story or something. It's
This story doesn't feature any raisins by any chance, does it?
Raisins?
why would it have raisins? You've been
was
drinking
true.
too many mojitos.
Plumber's crack, raisins. You throw raisins
no.
in the plumber's
God.
Oh, no.
Oh, get
Oh,
that
my.
picture out of my head.
Gosh.
Oh,
God.
Lordy.
Go back to your story,
No,
George.
this was more.
Thank goodness I didn't ask you to tell any jokes.
Yeah. No, this is a story of like where someone calls a plumber over to their house because they have an issue, let's say with their boiler. And the boiler, the guy comes in, the plumber comes in, he twists one little nut or does a little something quick, 5 minutes. And then he leaves. How much do I owe you? $180, let's say. And then the homeowner obviously is like, well, how could that be $180? You just did, it was just 5 minutes. You just took 5 minutes to do that. Well, it wasn't what I did. That's not what you paid for. You paid for my knowledge of knowing what was wrong and fixing it.
Yes.
So it's not the
100%.
labor you're paying for. It's the knowledge that you're paying for.
Yeah.
Knowing what's wrong and knowing how to take care of it. So I think for an agent, it's similar to that.
And it's labor too, because let's
I was
face
about
it,
to say that.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, we're not, it's not a
my
5 minute
last
job.
listing,
That's for sure.
the listing that I'm trying to get under contract right now, I had 3 days in a row where I got 50 phone calls a day on that listing.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw my phone at the wall, and I'm a professional agent. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're a homeowner and you're trying to return 50 phone calls a day plus
Yeah.
emails and texts, like,
So
I'm
true.
sorry, that's labor right
Yes,
there.
it
So
is.
Definitely.
you're paying for both. You're paying for
Yeah.
both.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
true.
and to also just add to that, I mean, with our team, with the Queen's Home team, we have a listing and transaction manager. We have
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
7 members on the team, so there's enough manpower to make sure that we have support even on our end.
Yeah.
So yes, that's why we drink,
Yeah.
because we work so much.
On our downtime,
represent our clients.
not when we're on the
This
clock.
is why we
Cheers.
drink, guys. Cheers.
So I do hope that if there's a homeowner or someone thinking of selling, that at least whoever's listening gets a good idea of what agents do for sellers.
And I would
right?
say, I mean, we of course we would love for you to choose us, but in the end, maybe we're not the right team for you.
Yeah.
So, if you have any questions, just reach out to us anytime and give us an opportunity to at least consult with you.
Yes.
Or consult you.
Consult
you.
with
Both.
Consult
Yes,
with you,
both.
consult you, so that way you can have some professional experience and
That's true.
knowledge to be able to just make a good decision. I mean, I had a conversation with an owner this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and she was actually a referral from a realtor in Florida, and she's looking to sell her property here in Florida. And throughout COVID,
in Glendale.
I'm sorry, my apologies, in Glendale. And through all this that's happening with COVID, I mean, I'm explaining to her all the pros and cons because I am concerned for her.
Yep.
She has COPD, and I want to make sure that she and her family are very protected throughout this entire time.
Yep.
So, in a nutshell, after 1 week has passed, it turns out that her daughter is going to try to buy the property. And I thought that was wonderful. If it can be passed down to a family member, then that's great. But if it, and I, I gave her some tips and ideas of what she could do. And in the end, if it doesn't work out, we will still be here to offer some guidance and counsel.
Yep.
So, it's never we're never tied to the outcome. We're here just to provide good information and advice that makes sense for each homeowner.
Yes.
Right? So,
I think we've provided a lot of good advice and information today. What do you think?
That's good.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I hope so. World, what do you think?
Yeah. I think so.
We aren't biased either.
So what do
All
they
right,
do?
awesome.
What need to do if they need to find us?
So
George?
look, if you do have any questions, if you want to reach out to us, it's very easy to remember, queenshometeam.com/help,
Help.
right? And if you want to
Okay.
reach our
Help.
boy,
I need somebody help.
oh, take it away,
I
Dan.
don't know.
And if you want to reach Dan, Dan, what's your direct contact if someone wants to reach out to you?
Sure. My phone and text, you can phone and text me at 646-844-5770. It's pretty
right.
easy to remember. And my email is D as in Daniel, AKERMAN @kw.com.
All
That's my
right.
radio voice.
Great. That's a good radio voice.
All right, guys. So thanks for tuning in today. Real Talk with QHT.
QHT.
We'll be
Thanks for
back.
having me with you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks
Of
for coming.
course, Dan.
Thanks for coming today.
Absolutely.
Nice to drink
Absolutely.
with you.
And we'll be
Cheers.
back next
Cheers.
week with another topic and more good times.
Oh, and I would say also
Awesome.
if you have any questions and you want us to talk about a topic, or we would even love to get your feedback on what you think
Oh,
about
yeah.
these podcasts. I mean, in the end, we're doing this for you. Right?
Submit a topic to info@queenshometeam.com.
Press the like button.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments below.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, so it's not the like button. That's Facebook, right?
It has a like
That's
button.
that's
too.
Facebook.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But there is a like button for YouTube. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, give it a thumbs up, share it with people that you know, and make sure to subscribe so you get notifications of all our new videos.
Yeah.
And if you have comments or questions, put them in the comments below.
Oh,
There you go.
very
Hey,
good.
smell like
Nice.
a true YouTuber.
Yeah.
Nice. All right,
right,
guys.
guys.
Thanks for tuning in. Take care.
All right. Thanks, guys. Oh, I got to do this.